It's 1846. You're on a tiny island in the middle of nowhere. Literally, the Dry Tortugas. You look around and think, yeah, let's build a massive hexagon fort here. Not just any old fort, a fort with 16 million bricks and still one of the largest masonry structures in the Americas. To put this into perspective, the Empire State Building has 10 million bricks. This project being done today would make modern contractors cry. Welcome to Fort Jefferson on episode 2 of Don't You Think It's Funny? If you are unaware, there are numerous masonry forts such as Jefferson across America and even across the world. The community I so dearly love and am forever in debt call them star forts because of their seamlessly geometric shapes. Some are or were around cities, towns, beachfronts, mountainsides, but there's only one on a small sandy island that Poseidon himself called a desolate dingleberry. Ponce de Leon was supposedly the first to visit the then island of Dry Tortuga 20 years after 1492 when dipshit supposedly sailed the ocean blue. It's a catchy phrase, I'll give them that. De Leon called it Las Tortugas for the large population of sea turtles. What a boring fucking story. Are you sure he didn't just stop because he saw a star fort there? Also, notice it's called Dry Tortuga, meaning there's no fresh water, meaning the builders of this brick-by-brick assembly would have had a drier tongue than Cheryl the morning after her book club night with the gals. Fast forward to the 19th century to when U.S. Navy Commodore David Porter once called the spot Fort Jefferson lies on unfit for any naval establishment. Seems like a solid plan, right? Despite Porter's thumbs down, the U.S. government thought, hey, at least we can slap a lighthouse on it. And thus, Garden Key Light was born in 1826, complete with a cute little keeper's cottage. Is that an Airbnb? But in 1846, they thought even bigger. Fort Jefferson, named after President Thomas Jefferson, duh. This fort was designed to protect one of the most strategic deep water anchorages in the Caribbean. Yeah, great strategy. You know what the enemy forces would have done as they sailed upon Fort Jefferson in the distance? They would have sailed around it. Quite a bit of real estate to dodge a flying metal ball. The lighthouse was eventually engulfed by the fort's massive brick walls, but it was kept shining until it was replaced by a metal tower in 1876. What happened to the original tower? Dismantled by 1877. These old world structures are like a historical game of Jenga. The construction began in 1846 under the supervision of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and continued for about 30 years, though it was never fully completed. Oh, well, that seems reasonable. I mean, it was Army engineers did it, and I mean, it did take 30 years. Yeah, but they didn't complete it? What the fuck? During the Civil War, Fort Jefferson was used as a military prison. The most famous prisoner was Dr. Samuel Mudd, the physician who treated John Wilkes Booth after he assassinated President Lincoln. Mudd, along with other prisoners, likely contributed to maintenance work on the fort, but they weren't the original builders. So while prisoners played a role in maintaining the fort, they weren't responsible for its initial construction. The labor-intensive process of bringing bricks, materials, and supplies to such a remote location relied more heavily on hired workers and, guess, if it's not prisoners, then who? Correct, enslaved people. Again, the artistic quality of these people, well, it's kind of funny. Naturally, the construction crew would be questionable within this narrative, and so will the materials. The bricks were said to have been sourced from Pensacola, New Orleans, and even as far as Maine. That far, huh? Even the first two locations would have been difficult, seeing how point A to point B tends to be similar to a washing machine with hurricanes. It'd be easy for old Mother Nature to sink a ship with thousands of bricks. Or maybe hundreds of thousands? I mean, how much brick production was being done in the mid-19th century? I'm assuming it was done by hand. Do you know how that process would have been done? Yeah, I didn't either. But let's look. The brick making process would have started by extracting clay from riverbeds or clay pits. Clearly, they used high quality clay, considering how well the structure has held up. After the clay was extracted, it had to be pressed into wood or metal molds to give the bricks their shape. The molds were dusted with sand or water to prevent the clay from sticking. Once molded, the bricks were left to dry in the sun for several days to reduce moisture, a crucial step since firing bricks with too much water could cause them to crack or explode. This is just step one we're at, guys. How many workers, or prisoners or slaves, would this have taken to pull off? The massive scale of the project seems at odds with the limitations of just the brick making and transportation alone. Oh, and the original lighthouse, Garden Key Light, was built with brick as well in 1825 and completed in 1826. That's another 1-year build within this time period. It was 65 feet high, so it's no big deal. The lighthouse was supposed to be completed in 1824, but the ship carrying the building supplies was lost at sea, delaying the start of construction until a year later. So many delays within these narratives, right? Fast forward a bit to 1912 when the second lighthouse was present. Guess who came a-knocking? That pesky old fire, which engulfed the keeper's dwelling. So many fires within these narratives, right? This 16-acre structure was to house 450 pieces of artillery in 3 tiers and garrison 1,500 men, which it never came close to containing. This was all to protect vital shipping lanes? I wasn't there, but the threat level in the region just doesn't seem to justify the magnitude of this construction. What would the original purpose be then? I don't know. I never claimed to know. And Fort Jefferson isn't the only star fort, as I've shown at the beginning of this episode. Do you know how many? There are listed 319 on starforts.com, but there are much, much more either destroyed as old world structures are or covered up under the earth. The story goes that every one of these was built as early as the 1500s and up. The most ridiculous part about this narrative in my eyes is that 91 star forts in America were said to have been built in the mid-1800s alone. Not far from Jefferson in Key West, we have Fort Zachary Taylor, which is clearly the widest fort name out of them all. Construction was begun in 1845 as part of a mid-19th century plan to defend the southeast coast after the War of 1812, which is a whole nother rabbit hole. The United States Army Corps of Engineers leased slaves from local slave owners for construction of both Jefferson and Zachary. Due to Key West having no agriculture, there were fewer than 90 enslaved people, but after the influx for construction, Key West had over 400. So sometimes when I hear a statistic like that, I feel like the enslaved people were just local population on the Keys. I see firsthand from my research a huge Moorish influence within the structures of the Gulf Coast. Pure speculation, of course. These slaves once again built themselves a masterpiece, with Fort Zachary having 5-foot thick walls that rose 50 feet, making this structure able to have 42 guns on 2 tiers and a capacity of 800 men. Rainwater was collected in underground cisterns along the perimeter of the fort. Of course, yellow fever epidemics and materia shortages slowed construction down. So again, people, why such a massive task was needed to defend America, I will never know. Not to mention Jefferson is not far from Key West. They needed 2 right there? Don't you think it's funny? If it's not, then keep going on this journey with me as I simply list out local and non-domestic star forts. You ready? Here we go. Fort McHenry, Baltimore, Maryland. That's a white one. Fort Stanwix, Rome, New York. Fort Pike, New Orleans. Note the Freemason symbol within this one. Fort Pulaski. Fort Moultrie. Fort Monroe. Fort Ontario. Castillo de San Marcos. Fort Anahuac. Fort Henry. Presidio La Bahia. It was originally Fort St. Louis. And of course, Fort Knox. Our neighbors above us, Canada, have Citadel Hill and Halifax. Some of the most interesting are across the pond. Palma Nova, Italy. Fort Bortange, Netherlands. Castillo de San Fernando, Spain. Elvis, Portugal. Okay, you get the point. Their stars were. Now, as we can see, these star forts and star cities are often said to have been built for defense purposes by many different countries across the realm. But before I ask you this question, I want you to block all outside influences. Erase your mind of any previous reactionary thoughts and answers. Do these intricate forts really look like they were used for defense purposes? Do they look like they were built by slaves, prisoners, or even hired hands for that matter? Do the dates listed for their construction really add up? Doesn't this all seem kind of funny? Well, okay then, Logan. It's kind of funny. But what the hell is going on here? Whoa. Now, I don't claim to know exactly what's going on. It's crazy out there, man. But I do think these star forts and cities align with ideas that many researchers, myself included, have come to believe. These structures seem to connect to something much deeper, a civilization that understood how to live in harmony with the world around them, leveraging sacred geometry, water, and vibrations to create energy and balance. You know how some forts are called batteries? Well, there's a reason for that. Many clues are in the words we say every single day without even knowing what we're actually saying. A battery, like charging a battery. It's clear to me, and many others, that star forts are built using sacred geometric patterns, which symbolize the cosmos and reflect the universe's balance on Earth. All things are made from this sacred etching. These designs weren't merely for aesthetic or military defense. They were deeply connected to the metaphysical energy of the Earth cosmos. The microcosm of the universe embodied in these structures was a tool for creating a harmonious environment. Their proximity to water, a key element in many star forts, suggests they harness the energy of water to generate magnetic frequencies. These frequencies, when properly aligned with the geometry of the fort, created a vibration that resonated with the environment, producing breathable air or ether and an overall sense of euphoria and harmony for those living within. The evidence of these principles are clear to see in these structures, not only in the forts, but when you look around it as well. The connection between sound, vibration, and geometry in star forts might seem far-fetched, but studies in somatics, the way sound frequencies create geometric patterns, reveal that certain frequencies can indeed generate symmetrical, harmonious patterns similar to what we see in star forts. Given this understanding, we can reconsider Fort Jefferson not just as a military post, but as part of a vast network of structures designed to enhance the natural environment. The challenge of building this fort in the 19th century with limited technology and logistics seems improbable, pointing toward the possibility that its true origins lie in a far older civilization with advanced understanding of architecture, energy, and natural harmony. The fact that many of these structures are near water is crucial. Dr. Emoto's research on structured water shows that water exposed to certain vibration forms patterns similar to those seen in star forts. Could it be that these forts leverage the power of water and sound to create healing environments, improving the well-being of all who lived inside? The precise angles, water channels, and geometric forms of Fort Jefferson and all the other forts, when viewed through this lens, suggest a greater purpose, not warfare, but energy harmonization and life enhancement. Why then would this knowledge be suppressed? The idea that star forts and structures like Fort Jefferson were designed to enhance life through sacred geometry and energy systems challenges the modern understanding of history. The controllers of the world, as you might call them, benefit from keeping this knowledge hidden by promoting the idea that these structures were merely military or architectural marvels of their time. They obscure the truth that humans once lived in a way that was deeply attuned to the energy of the earth and the cosmos. In the modern world, we have distanced ourselves from these natural harmonies, living in cities designed for efficiency rather than harmony. This connection is deliberate, a way to ensure control over populations that are no longer empowered by the natural energy systems that once sustained entire civilizations. If these structures could indeed produce a magnetic frequency that enhanced well-being and created a sense of euphoria, then the suppression of this knowledge benefits those who wish to keep humanity dependent on artificial energy sources and disconnected from the natural frequencies of the earth. Fort Jefferson is one piece of solid evidence in my eyes that points to a time when we all, or a part of our civilization, had love in their minds. Love for one another, love for their environment. Look at these old world structures that are still around. Does it look like our modern day humans that are filled up with Golden Corral buffet and Monster energy drinks could recreate them? What happened to this civilization, you may be asking? Well, that's for you to find out. Start with our timeline and narrative attached to it. Could this world have been harmonious not that long ago? I think so. Good luck on your journey. Let me know what you find. And see me back next time for Don't You Think It's Funny?